Welcome to Our Weird World. I'm your host, John Henson, and mental health is stupid. I wish we could live in a world where mental health wasn't real. Just because it would make things easier, you know? Now look, here's the thing. I'm not like suicidal guy or anything like that, but sometimes I get a little sad. Sometimes I get a little stressed and overwhelmed. And yeah, just like, I don't know, the past few days, I've just been disassociating and just super unenthusiastic about literally just everything. And it's been fun. It's been a fun time. Let me tell you. If you don't deal with the sads, you're a lucky person. Like, if you can wake up every day and just somehow be eternally optimistic and always happy and just smile and have tons of energy, would just, God bless you, because I hate you as a person. And not because you're a terrible person. It's more just envy. It's just hateful envy on my part. Because there are, like, the number of things in my life that make me angry or sad greatly outweighs the things that make me happy. A very select few things in life that makes me happy, and that's concerning, I think, in general. Because, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, talk about Norman Baker. So let's just tell the story. So here's what's great and how good I have become as a broadcaster. I didn't really have much to talk about or open this story with because, I felt like kind of what I said last week at the end of the show to kind of tease this week's episode was pretty much all I could say about Norman Baker without getting into the whole story. And so I didn't want to repeat myself. And I didn't want to try to force in any more detail because then you might not listen. But now I've got you. I've got you for two reasons. One, I hope that you are at least somewhat curious about Norman Baker's story, but also you're probably legitimately concerned for me right now based on the stuff I said in the previous segment. And that's fine. I mean, thanks, I guess. I'm fine, though. You don't need to worry. But now you're just, naturally curious as to where this is going to go. But it's not about me. This is about Norman Baker, who was born on November 27th, 1882, to a wealthy family in the small town of Muscatine, Iowa. Talk about a segue. Talk about a professional segue. Just slipped that right in there. Anyway, Norman's father... This is going to be a weird episode. Norman's father, John Baker, had actually patented over 120 different inventions in his lifetime. And Norman, super inspired by that, really wanted to follow in his footsteps. For example, his father's company, the Tangley Company, invented the Calliophone, which was kind of a variation of a steam organ, a musical instrument, old-timey musical instrument, which... That's actually the instrument that was used in various circuses to create that stereotypical circusy sound you think of when you think about a circus. It's a terrible sounding instrument. I hate it, but Norman Baker, his father, invented that. By 1924, Baker, he's an adult now. He's super interested in radio. And he asked the town leaders in Muscatine to let him build a radio station that would make the town famous throughout the entire Midwest. And, Midwesterners, they're pretty easygoing. They're down for anything. They're just happy to be there. They're like puppies. And so by November of 1925, KTNT was born. Although the leaders and the people in Muscatine liked the call letters for the explosive meaning behind TNT, Baker was stubbornly insistent that the entire abbreviation stood for Know the Naked Truth. And from there, conservative talk radio was born. And look, sometimes, you'll have call letters, call signs that mean something, or that, radio stations can play on words with, or whatever the case is, but Norman, he was like, no, this whole thing is an acronym. It doesn't mean whatever you want it to mean. It is Know the Naked Truth. And from there, Baker started talking about this radio cartel, which was this group of broadcasters who targeted small independent stations like KTNT in Muscatine, Iowa, and would target those small independent stations by overpowering their signals and cutting in with their own agendas and programming. So, like, right off the bat, like, he doesn't even have like a solid audience yet, and Norman Baker's already like, they're breaking into the feed, and they have their agenda. They have their deep state agenda, and they're coming in and they're overpowering our signals. We're telling you, know the naked truth. We're telling the naked truth here on KTNT. That's what it stands for. Know the naked truth. This is going to be a lot of Alex Jones impressions today. Just go ahead and get ready for that. But the big radio conglomerates over in Iowa City and Davenport and Des Moines, they're breaking into the feeds. They're breaking into the signals. They're overpowering our small signals, and they're getting their agendas out, and I'm here to try to tell you the truth. and Baker, like, he specifically went after AT&T, which, in his defense, had a monopoly on the station transmitters all around Iowa. And despite being constantly in and out of court for various libel charges against all of these people and all these corporations, Baker continued to just rant against any product or company that he didn't like. Sound familiar? Probably. Not surprisingly, Baker's broadcasts were a hit with these small-minded Midwesterners. He also, and to help supplement his program, he began publishing TNT Magazine. He also became president of the Progressive Publishing Company, which published the Midwest Free Press. And he would use the Midwest Free Press to take down other newspapers in the area because he believed they were all conspiring against him. All the newspapers. All right, all the newspapers, the Iowa City Tribune, the Des Moines Register, why are these the only three cities? I know there are other cities in Iowa, but I can only think of Iowa City, Des Moines, and Davenport. There's Waterloo. There's one. There's Villisca, where the axe murders happened. There's Newton, Iowa, because there's a racetrack there. Of course, I would know that one. There's Knoxville, Iowa, because there's another racetrack there. I know that one. Anyway, I'm getting so just all over the place. But Iowa, all right? Anyway, the Midwest Free Press's popularity actually put Baker in high demand as a speaker for various causes that were going on in the 20s and 30s. He started touring the region by bus, and he spoke out against things, super hard-hitting issues like mandated tuberculosis tests for cattle, random vaccinations. Sound familiar? Just the measles vaccination's turning the kids gay. The smallpox vaccine is going to turn us all into communists. Anyway, he spoke out against water fluoridation, which actually has a ton of health benefits, but whatever. He also spoke out against aluminum cookware. All right. The aluminum is going to help the aliens program our brains, and the aliens working with the deep state to hypnotize us to making us think that we can all become communists, because Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal is nothing but pure socialism, unadulterated, unfiltered socialism. And we got to get it out of our country. We got to get rid of the Mexicans. We got to make sure the Canadians stay where they are. And we got to get rid of all these smallpox vaccines. Parents, stop vaccinating your kids. You're raising them to be gay little communists. Anyway, you get the picture. So, and like all of this stuff, and his main thing was that, like, all of these things caused like half of all cancers. And what's crazy though is like there are studies like emerging now that like say that all of the aluminum, like the aluminum in deodorants or something, causes cancer. I don't know, whatever. But like he had no actual evidence. He was not a doctor, and he had no factual scientific evidence to back up any of these claims. But like that's how talk radio works. Like you pop off with something ridiculous that is taken as complete fact by the dumb listeners who are too lazy to do their own research, who then go out and perpetuate it further into the world. You know, they're just in these conversations. It's like, well, Gene, you know, I heard on the radio that they're just putting cancer in the water. The man on the radio said that. He said that cancer is being caused by the water. And so he was selling purified water that's been blessed by an 800-year-old Jewish woman who had touched Christ's hair. And he said if I drank that water, it eliminates all the cancers in my body and prevents me from getting all the cancer that they're putting in the vaccines and the water. Because that's what I heard, you know? That's right. That's right, Barbara Jean. Now, I know that that's confusing because my name's Jean, but your name's Barbara Jean, and that's how we're going to differentiate the characters in this stupid little rant here. So I was told that all the vaccines that I had to give Billy Jean, he was just getting cancer vaccines. But it wasn't like a vaccine to prevent him from getting cancer. It was a vaccine that gave him cancer. And like, he doesn't have cancer yet, but the man on the radio, because I listened too, and I heard that you get cancer later on, like when he's an adult, because at that point he'll have life insurance and a retirement policy, and the deep state, apparently, which is run by Franklin Roosevelt, they're just trying to kill everybody to get all of the estate taxes so that they can replenish the government after the Depression. Anyway, I don't know. Probably. So, despite all of this, where are we at? I need to reset. That took way too long. Anyway, Norman Baker, he's on the radio. He's talking about all of these different things. Random things, too. Completely stupid. But he's saying that it causes all the cancer. Doesn't have any evidence to back this up. And he did not let this lack of evidence or a lack of a medical degree stop him. He actually teamed up with a guy named Charles Ozias, who was a quote-unquote doctor in Kansas City who claimed to have a cure for cancer, even though all 5 of his test subjects had died. All right. And Norman, figured he couldn't do any worse. He's got Chucky Oz over here. He's like, I've got the cure for cancer. I've tested it on 5 patients. They didn't make it. All right. But it's probably because, we just didn't catch the cancer in time. If we catch it early enough, this cure 100% works. Don't worry about it. Norman also brought a guy named Harry Hoxsey, who was a former insurance salesman and definitely not a doctor, up to Muscatine to promote their own cancer cure. So I kind of misspoke there. He didn't team up with Chucky O, but he basically just stole all of Chucky O's ideas. All right. So it's like, oh, hey, I heard about this guy who has a cure for cancer. Cool. How many people did he cure? -5. But that's not the point. We're going to take this. All right. You and me, Harry. All right. He talks normally when he's not on the radio. If he was on the radio, he'd be doing Alex Jones. But so he's like, Harry, I got this guy. -5 right now on the cancer cure, but I think it's going to work. You're going to go out and promote this. You're going to be my sales guy. You're going to be the voice of the voice, for lack of a better term. All right. And guess what? In 1930, Baker opened the Baker Institute and advertised this new clinic as a one-stop shop for cancer cures and other diseases upon request. This cure consisted of corn silk, watermelon seeds, clover, water, and carbolic acid. I don't know what corn silk and carbolic acid is, but like I do know from that one Rugrats episode that if you eat a watermelon seed, it grows a watermelon inside you. So I've never eaten a watermelon seed because of that. As Baker promoted his own clinic, he began denouncing real doctors as complete fools who were incapable of actually helping people. Like he's legitimately getting dangerous now. He asserted that MD stood for more dough, which is exactly the stupid sort of thing that like a shock jock would say. The problem was that these idiots, these simpletons, these dirtfoot cretins out in the Midwest totally bought it. They totally believed him. And, it's like, oh, Barbara Jean, listen to this. I just noticed today, because I was taking Billie Jean to a doctor's appointment. Now I realized Billie Jean is your son, Barbara Jean, but now he's my son for the purpose of this bit. And I saw on the sign, the doctor, his name was Stephen Williams, MD. And I heard on the radio, I was told, the deep state had told me that MD stood for medical doctor, but I found out today on the radio that MD stood for more dough. They just taking our money, and then they're giving us cancer shots. I'm still waiting for Billie Jean to die from cancer, so that the government can then take the life insurance payout from my hands, and then we'll see who's right. All right. Because then they're going to take the Second Amendment and they're just going to throw that out, and they're going to come take our guns away. And I don't know why. Sure, they've always been worried about guns, apparently. When the Journal of the American Medical Association, big deal, accused Baker of quackery, sure, Baker then responded by saying that the AMA actually stood for the Amateur Meat Cutters Association, which that doesn't even make sense. Like, how bad are your comebacks that, like, you just look for abbreviations and change the abbreviations? This is like, MDs do not stand for medical doctors. It stands for more dough. They just want to take all your money. And now the American Medical Association's coming after me. They call themselves the AMA, but that really stands for the Amateur Meat Cutters Association. They're coming for the pork industry, the big pork industry, the Amateur Meat Cutters Association. They're trying to take the pork jobs out of Iowa. We can't have that happen. Anyway. And yes, that's a deep joke, because Iowa produces, I think, almost as much, if not more, pork products than North Carolina does. Like, North Carolina, country leader in pork. Iowa, close second, if not in the lead. Anyway, I don't know why I know that. So, according to Morris Fishbein, who was the Journal's, quote, anti-quackist, which is got to be like one of the most ridiculous job titles in America. Like, how do you go to school for that? Or like, how do you apply for that job? Like, it shows up looking for an experienced anti-quacker. I don't know. I kind of want to do it. But according to Morris, this guy, Morris Fishbein, Baker claimed that the AMA had offered him $1 million for his cancer cure with the sole intent of eliminating it from the market, which would then force patients to elect surgery to cure their cancer instead of natural cures. It's full-blown conspiracy immediately. And in response, Baker called Fishbein a slimy Jew, or probably something equally anti-Semitic and ridiculous. And then he sued the AMA for libel and defamation. So it's like, and it's amazing how similar these things are. Like, it's just, man, that quote, if we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. It's literally happening, you guys. Like, on a small scale, thankfully, not like some nuclear holocaust, maybe. I'm recording this right now in the middle of, that whole, the Russian-Ukraine thing. Probably still going on, but maybe not. Maybe we've been wiped off the earth already with a nuclear war. Who knows? But it's crazy how we live in this culture right now where a former president of this country who shall not be named does this same stuff, where you have guys like Alex Jones who do the same things, where you make all of these claims, no facts whatsoever to back them up. All right? You claim you have your facts, but then you also claim that like this super powerful entity is going to prevent you from, proving that you're right. And then when people call you out on it, you sue them. Or when things don't go your way, you just sue people for just telling the truth about what kind of terrible person you are. I mean, it's gratifying in a way, but it's also infuriating because like, how dumb are we as a collective society to keep letting these things happen over and over again? But they kept going. No one stopped him. And in May of 1930, Baker and Hoxie hosted this huge outdoor festival where they promised to cure everyone who attended. You didn't even have to be sick. You just attend and you're just cured of whatever. I don't know what of, but whatever. And here's the thing. Over 10,000 people showed up in Muscatine where they were told to buy other Tangley Company products after getting bopped on the head, Benny Hinn style, and claiming they were cured. So imagine this, all right? Imagine that Alex Jones holds a rally in some podunk Texas town, and 10,000 people show up, and it turns into one of these faith healing sessions. Alex Jones, because Alex Jones sells like new supplements. Like they don't work, but he sells supplements. And so it's like Alex Jones hosting this festival where he's curing, he's found this new supplement that cures literally everything. And he's going to cure everyone who attends. And so he's up on stage. I'm going to cure everybody. I'm going to cure your cancer. I'm going to cure your AIDS, even though I don't support the gay community. You didn't probably get it from being gay. You got raped by a transvestite woman in a male bathroom, even though she was trying to pass as a female. I know that scenario doesn't make a lot of sense for my platform, but that's what happened. I'm going to cure your blackness because we don't like black people. I'm just assuming Alex Jones doesn't like black people. I could be wrong. Let him sue me. But he's up on stage just cycling through and he's just popping people in the head. Bam, you're cured. Bam, you're cured. Bam, you're cured. And they're getting, I don't know, like a jar of tap water or something. But yeah, it's great. And then after the festival, the state of Iowa filed an injunction against Baker and Hoxie for practicing medicine without a license. Hey, good job. That's because that's what they were doing. The next year, thankfully, everything started to fall apart for Baker. The injunction, despite his fighting it, the injunction against him was upheld. The Federal Radio Commission revoked KT&T's license. He and Hoxie had a falling out, and they ended up filing several lawsuits against each other for ownership of their clinic's profits. And it didn't really work out for Baker. And with nothing better to do, really nothing left for him, he basically exiled himself to Mexico, where he would just completely start over. So in 1933, he obtained permission to operate the XENT AM in Nuevo Laredo near the Mexican border. So the station itself was outside the reach of the FCC, but it was the second most powerful radio station in North America, which means his signal had the ability to be picked up in Texas. And during the day, Baker would use the station to continue promoting his cure for cancer. And then at night, Baker would play hillbilly music interspersed with various anti-Semitic and anti-Catholic rants. He also, because it's Mexico, man, and they don't have rules for anything, he enjoyed being on the air while having sex with various mistresses. So it's like all during the day, paid programming for his cancer cure that doesn't work. And then at night, 8 o'clock, prime time. It's whatever he calls it. I don't know. It's, whatever. And he's just on the air. And it's like, the Jews are taking over the world. The Catholics are dirty pedophiles. Probably, you get it. I didn't need to do that, but you get it. In 1937, Baker returned to the United States and opened a hospital in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, which had already fallen on hard times after the Depression. Thousands of people, still desperate for cures to their various ailments, showed up for a series of injections from a guy who has never set foot in any sort of medical school, has zero medical knowledge, and people are showing up willingly to get injected with just a bunch of random stuff from this dude. And here's the crazy part. This is why the South gets such a bad reputation. This hospital revitalized the town of Eureka Springs, even though Baker was still in legal trouble. He was charged with violating the Communications Act of 1934. He was charged with illegally practicing medicine. He was convicted of mail fraud, and he was even sentenced to 4 years in a federal prison for all of this. And then after he was released from prison, they actually let him out, and he actually tried one more attempt to open a, quote, research foundation back in Muscatine, Iowa, but thankfully he was rejected by town leaders. And here's the thing. Here's what's so frustrating about this. He finally gave up, all right? He's finally done. And so what he does is he just retires to Miami and lives the rest of his life very comfortably off the profits that he had made from all of the people that he had deceived with his fake cure. And he died finally in 1958 of cirrhosis, which I hope was like the most painful, longest suffering death, because this dude was a douchebag. He was a terrible person. He sucked. And yet he ended up living a pretty comfortable life. So yeah, this story, I don't know. I hate all of the misinformation, first of all, because that's kind of what this show is founded on. Not giving misinformation, but like we are conditioned to live in this world of fear based on misrepresentation of what's actually going on. And it's frustrating because I hear people talk and they are so misinformed and they can't help it, because it's very, I kind of burped a little bit. It's very easy to get sucked into it. And Norman Baker, probably one of the first pioneers of doing this sort of thing. And yeah, it's really, really frustrating. But let's see what we learned today. What did we learn? Number one, Norman Baker's family invented that annoying Calliophone thing that you think about when you hear circuses, and that's reason enough to hate him. Number two, Norman Baker, pretty much the father of conservative talk radio, where you just make a bunch of wild claims, see what sticks, and then see what kind of dum-dums go out and start repeating it. He founded KTNT in Muscatine, Iowa, where instead of it just being a, KTNT exploding the airwaves. No. It's Know the Naked Truth. All right. I'm not letting the deep state control my own narrative for my own. Anyway. Yeah, whatever. And number three, this turd burglar was able to swindle tens of thousands of people with a cure for cancer that didn't actually work. And then he was able to live a comfortable life in Miami until his death. Next week on Our Weird World, if you didn't like this episode, You're probably not going to like next week's episode. Just a weird way to celebrate Memorial Day, I guess. But this is going to, we're going to talk about the story of the murder of James Bulger. It's a rough one. It's real sad. Mainly because it's about a little kid who just got put through it by some other little kids. It's all about kid murder next week on Our Weird World. So I don't know, come back for that. Thank you all for listening. Keep telling all your friends. And also, if you like Alex Jones, probably, get a lobotomy or something because you're an idiot. All right? Keep it weird. No, because the deep state is going to try. They haven't done this in a long time. There's a reason there hasn't been a post-credit bit in a long time, because the deep state has been trying to end the show before I really got a chance to say what I needed to say, all right? And here's what I have to say. The vaccines, they're all causing the cancer. Given the tests for the cows, guess what? It's all conspiracy. It all works together. The deep state is trying to give us all cancer. I'll tell you how, all right? Here's how it goes. All of the vaccines, measles, mumps, chickenpox, hepatitis, HIV, all of them, they're not real vaccines. They don't work. They all give us cancer. But if you don't get your vaccine, the government has another way of doing it. Here's how they're doing it. They're putting tests on the cows. They're testing cows for tuberculosis. There hasn't been a case of tuberculosis since the 1600s. That's a fact. You can't dispute it. I have the evidence. I would share it with you, but the government won't let me post it to my website because they've hacked my website. They won't let me post anything on there, and now you can't get the facts. But I can do these facts over the air because the air is the last bastion of freedom that we have in this country. Now, they're giving the test to the cows. The cows are going to the slaughterhouses, and the slaughterhouses are sending the meat to McDonald's. McDonald's and Burger King, guess what? They make hamburgers. Hamburgers give us all cancer. Everything gives us cancer.